ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतस्य सेवया भगवतिरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Canto 4, Chapter 4, Verse 24. Maitreya Uvacha इत्यध्वरे दक्षमनूद्य शत्रुहन् क्षितावुदीचीं निश साधशान्तवाक् स्पृष्ट्वा जलं पीतदुकूलसंवृता निमील्य दृग्योगपथं समाविशत्। Maitreya, the sage told Vidura, O annihilator of enemies, while thus speaking to her father in the arena of sacrifice, Sati sat down on the ground and faced north. Dressed in saffron garments, she sanctified herself with water and closed her eyes to absorb herself in the process of mystic yoga. It is said that when a man desires to quit his body, he dresses in saffron garments. Therefore, it appears that Sati changed her dress, indicating that she was going to quit her body given her by Daksha. Daksha was Sati's father, so instead of killing Daksha, she decided that it would be better to destroy the part of his body which was hers. Thus, she decided to give up the body of Daksha by the yogic process. Sati was the wife of Lord Shiva, who was known as Yogeshwara, the best among all yogis, because he knows all the mystic process of yoga. So it appeared that Sati also knew them. Either she learned yoga from her husband or she was enlightened because she was the daughter of such a great king as Daksha. The perfection of yoga is that one can give up one's body or release oneself from the embodiment of material elements according to one's desire. So this is very, very important. This is not just for Ashtanga yogis. This is true for bhaktas also, bhakti yogis. Mm. Bhakti has so much power that actually one can free oneself from material attachment, even material body. In fact, it is said that a devotee doesn't die. So the devotee actually has so much control, so much power. The power of the devotee is different from the power of the yogi. The power of the devotee is because it comes from the power of the Supreme Lord. Because the Supreme Lord uh, favors his devotees. So, for example, the whole preaching effort, right, when we are trying to preach, it is actually the power of the Lord which is being manifested through the devotees. It's not that the devotees have that power. So the Lord actually empowers the devotees to preach. Like that, the Lord empowers the devotees to win over death. So the Lord can empower his devotees by the process of bhakti and by the process of yoga. Mechanically, some of these ashtasiddhis are achieved, right? Mm. And also, the devotees also have the um, power to uh, follow their or to fulfill their desires. Mm. Again, like for example, if somebody is wanting to do something in devotional service, that's his desire, then the Lord empowers him if he's a pure soul. Somebody wants to achieve perfection in this life, the Lord empowers him to achieve. So it depends on our desire, and because we are completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord, The Supreme Lord actually empowers devotees. That is why the process of bhakti is not about our ability. The process of bhakti, or the activities of bhakti, is about our surrender, our sincerity. Everything else will come from the Lord. That's very different from yogis. Yogis who have attained perfection are not subjected to death by natural laws. Such perfect yogis can leave the body whenever they desire. And it's also said that devotee also is a yogi. He has all the powers, but he doesn't demonstrate them, display them. Generally, the yogi first of all becomes mature in controlling the air passing within the body, thus bringing the soul to the top of the brain. Then, when the body bursts into flames, the yogi can go anywhere he likes. This yoga system recognizes the soul and thus it is distinct from the so-called yoga process for controlling the cells of the body, which is the modern yoga, which has been discovered in the modern age. The real yoga process accepts the transmigration of soul from one planet to another or one body to another. And it appears from this incident that Sati wanted to transfer her soul to another body or sphere. कृत्वा समानौ अनिलौ जितासना सोदानमुता उत्थाप्य च नाभिचक्रतः शनैर्हृदि स्थाप्य धियोरसि स्थितं कंठाद् भ्रुवोर्मध्यम् अनिन्दितानयत्. First of all, she sat in the required sitting posture and then she carried the life air upwards, placed it in the position of equilibrium near the navel. Then she raised her life air mixed with intelligence to the heart and then gradually towards the pulmonary passage and from there to between her eyebrows. This is the standard yogic process of quitting the body. The yogic process is to control the air passing within the body in different places called Shat Chakra, called Shat Chakra Yoga. The six circles of air circulation. The air is raised from the abdomen to the navel, then to the heart, then to the throat, then between the eyebrows, and from between the eyebrows to the top of the cerebrum. That is the sum and substance of practicing yoga. Before practicing the real yoga system, one has to practice the sitting postures because this helps in the breathing exercises which control the airs going upwards and downwards. This is the pranayama, rechaka, puraka, kumbhaka, all these kind of breathing processes. This is a great technique which one has to practice to attain the highest perfectional stage of yoga. But such practice is not meant for this age. No one in this age can attain the perfectional stage of such yoga. But people indulge in practicing sitting postures, which is more or less a gymnastic process. By such bodily gymnastics, one may develop good circulation and may therefore keep one's body fit. But if one simply restricts oneself to the gymnastic process, one cannot attain the highest perfectional stage. The yoga process, as described in Keshava Shruti, prescribes how one can control his living force according to his desire and transmigrate from one body to another or from one place to another. In other words, yoga practice is not meant to keep the body fit. Any transcendental process of spiritual realization automatically helps one to keep the body fit. See, for it is the spirit soul that keeps the body always fresh. And this is the reason Prabhupada actually discouraged all this Ashtanga yoga exercise, this, that, and all that. He said, you jump in kirtan, eat only as much food as is required. Follow the process of Vaidhi Bhakti. That is good enough. We don't have to do any separate endeavor for keeping body fit. Prabhupada is clearly saying any transcendental process of spiritual realization automatically helps one to keep the body fit, for it is the soul that keeps the body always fresh. As soon as the spirit soul is out of the body, the material body immediately begins to decompose. Any spiritual process keeps the body fit without separate endeavor. But if one takes it that the ultimate aim of yoga is to maintain the body, then he is mistaken. The real perfection of yoga is elevation of the soul to a higher position or liberation of the soul from material entanglement. Some yogis try to elevate the soul to higher planetary systems where the standard of life is different from that of this planet and where the material comforts, lifespan, and other facilities for self realization are greater. And some yogis endeavor to elevate the soul to the spiritual world, the spiritual Vaikuntha planet. So there are two types. One is the one who wants to go through the gradual process of elevation, and the other is direct process. Direct process is directly going to Vaikuntha planets. Gradual processes go through higher planetary systems. The Bhakti Yoga process directly elevates the soul to the spiritual planets where life is eternally blissful and full of knowledge. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga is considered to be the greatest of all yoga systems. Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana. Krishna says, 6th chapter, last verse. Greatest yogi is the Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yogi. So this, so one thing actually, which I see also many devotees do is this whole, you know, bodily keeping, even if they're healthy, they are worried about future problems that their body might create, and then hence engage in exercise, yoga, this, that, and all that. Actually, the whole idea is that if one eats, see, okay, we should understand technically if there's karma phala, that karma phala will anyway hit us. Now, the only way we can get rid of karma phala is by doing Tivra Bhakti. If we are doing Tivra Bhakti, then we get kind of control over our senses, we get control over what we eat, and then we engage in so-called exercise by jumping up and down in kirtan, by doing physical seva like taking, distributing books, going out of the street, doing Nagar Sankirtan, etc. There's enough physical exercise required that happens even in Bhakti Yoga. So we don't have to. I know devotees who get up first thing in the morning, they go for yoga class. The first thing in the morning we should do is the Bhakti Yoga class, which is chanting Hare Krishna. Then everything, if you have so much time. But clearly, Prabhupada elsewhere also said that it's not required. Of course, when somebody is fallen sick and then some advice has been given to do, like Prabhupada started walking after his, some so-called ailments he faced. Okay, yeah, if something like that is there. But thinking that if this will prevent some future illness and all is again material. Because just by doing some exercises, we are not going to overcome some karma phala that we are. But then, bad lifestyle, for example, eating too much, prasadam also, too much, more than required. Now, all these kinds of things might then just unnecessarily imbalance our health, though, you know, we could have avoided them. So just being yuktahara viharasya yukta chestasya karmasu, yukta swapna bodhasya. So we should just be yukta and just do things as much as is required. Then we will not have to, we'll not inconvenience our body unnecessarily. But generally engaging in all this, hoping that tomorrow I'm going to remain healthy because I did all this exercise and yoga, that was never recommended by Prabhupada. Okay, so for most important thing Prabhupada is saying here, right, is any process to spiritual realization automatically helps on keep body fit. Now, if we don't understand this, we don't understand. We don't understand the logic, but it works because Prabhupada is saying. Hmm. Any spiritual process keeps the body fit without separate endeavor. Full stop. That's all. Right? Any spiritual process keeps the body fit without separate endeavor. We don't have to. Now we can try to understand this statement, right? But we can't deny it because Prabhupada is writing it. So it's true. How it is true, we might not be able to understand so easily, but we stick to this process. एवं स्वदेहं महतां महीयसा मुहुः समारोपितम् अङ्कमादरात् जिहासति दक्षरुषा मनस्विनी दधारगात्रेष्वनिलाग्निधारणाम्. Thus, in order to give up her body, which had been so respectfully and affectionately seated on the lap of Lord Shiva, who is worshipped by great sages and saints, Sati, due to anger towards her father, began to meditate on the fiery air within the body. Lord Shiva is described herein as the best of all great souls. Although Sati's body was born of Daksha, Lord Shiva used to adore her by sitting her on his lap. This is considered a great token of respect. Okay, please note this. Making Sati sit on his lap is considered a great token of respect. The Sati's body was not ordinary, but still she decided to give it up because it was the source of unhappiness because of its connection with Daksha. The severe example set by Sati is to be followed. One should be extremely careful about associating with persons who are not respectful to the higher authorities. It is therefore instructed in the Vedic literature that one should always be free from asatsanga, association of atheists and non-devotees, and should try to associate with devotees. For by association for devotee, one can be elevated to the platform of self-realization. Again, we've discussed this. Not to associate doesn't mean not to talk at all, but not to get influenced, not to spend more time than required with non-devotees, just as much as required social intercourse. That's all. But really, association, spending time, friendship, all this should be with devotees, not with others. Because by association with devotee, one can be elevated to the platform of self-realization. This injunction is stressed in many places in Srimad Bhagavatam. If one wants to be liberated from the clutches of material existence, then one has to associate with great souls. And if one wants to continue one's material existential life, then one may associate with persons who are materialistic. So very simple. The Prabhupada's statements are all so clear, straightforward, no confusion, no scope for even actually speculating, but still to suit our convenience, we might end up speculating something. But we'll add, yeah, he's saying this, but, and then give some random logic. It's very, very clear. If one wants to make progress, then one comes associates with devotees. One wants to remain materialistic, they associate with materialistic people. Simple. And what we do is we associate with the material people and we get obliged by them and we try to fulfill our some so-called social responsibility, familial responsibility, etc., which are actually not required to be fulfilled. Um, right. So we are ourselves willingly pulling ourselves in the materialistic way of life. So what can anybody do? The materialistic way of life is based on sex life. Now, when we say sex life, it's not just the actual act. It's all about showing ourselves off, right? Like dressing nicely, good clothes, a good hairstyle, good this, good that. All this, whatever we do to decorate the body, is all part of the sex life business, right? Thus, both becoming addicted to sex life and associating with persons who are addicted to sex life are condemned in the Vedic literature because such association will simply interfere with one's spiritual progress. And this we all experience. The more and more we are engaged with in social life, society, less trodden path. Bhakti is a less trodden path, meaning very few people will tread that path. Most of the people are outside, not following the life of bhakti. So if we want to become one among the masses, then we can go and associate with them. And then we'll become one among them. Not very difficult to understand. But if we want spiritual progress, then we should not associate with them because association with them will simply interfere with one's spiritual progress. And then devotees are bewildered. They're chanting, they're in the association of devotees. Every Sunday they come, they think that that's some big achievement. Every Sunday I come for satsang. I've been in bhakti for 20 years, but still I've not made any tangible progress. Is bhakti really powerful? Does it really work? Yeah, I mean, that's not bhakti, right? Doing some namaparada chanting every day, once in a week meeting some devotees and having prasadam is not good enough because the rest of the whole week we are steeped in materialistic way of life. So it's not going to help. It's not enough. However, association with great personalities, devotees or great souls will elevate one to the spiritual platform. Sati Devi decided to quit the body she had obtained from Daksha's body and she wanted to transfer herself to another body so that she might have completely uncontaminated association with Lord Shiva. So it's not that Sati wanted to go elsewhere. She just wanted to give up this body, take another body, and again get completely uncontaminated association. Now it was contaminated because he was born from Daksha. Of course, it is understood that in her next life she would take birth as the daughter of the Himalayas, Parvati, and then she would again accept Lord Shiva as her husband. Sati and Shiva are eternally related. Even after she changes her body, their relationship is never broken. Yeah. So this is very, very important purport, right? So we have to choose our association. We have to choose our goal, what we want to achieve in life, and accordingly we should associate with those kind of people. Mm. So we make the choice of our life, where we want to go, what we want to achieve. We are deciding, and we are not forced. It's not like somebody is dragging us to do these things. It's everything is a choice, and we are making those choices, right or wrong. We should know based on Shastra. Tatah swabhartush Charanambujasavam Jagadguroschintayati na chaparam Tadarsha deho hatakalmashassati Sadya prajajwala Samadhi jagnina. Sati concentrated all her meditation on the holy lotus feet of her husband Lord Shiva, who is the supreme spiritual master of all the world. Thus she became completely cleansed of all taints of sin and quit her body in a blazing fire by meditation on the fiery elements. She concentrated all her attention on the lotus feet of her husband, Lord Shiva. And then she became completely cleansed of all taints of sin and quit her body in blazing fire. Sati at once thought of the lotus feet of her husband, Lord Shiva, who is one of the three great personalities of Godhead in charge of the management of the material world. And simply by meditating on his lotus feet, she derived such great pleasure that she forgot everything in relationship with her body. And this is the power of samadhi. Simply by meditating on his lotus feet, she derived great pleasure and so much pleasure that she forgot everything in relationship with her body. She forgot that her body is giving pain or is going to burn or is burning. Nothing she realized. She didn't experience any of that because she derived great pleasure. This pleasure was certainly material because she gave up her body for another body that was also material. But by this example, we can appreciate the devotee's pleasure in concentrating his mind and attention on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. There's such transcendental bliss in simply meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord that one can forget everything but the Lord's transcendental form. This is the perfection of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. In fact, this is also the uh, something that we have to achieve by the process of our chanting. That we forget the externals. We become so attracted to the holy name that we are completely in samadhi. We are lost in great pleasure taking the holy names of Radha and Krishna. And when that process of chanting matures, then automatically Krishna's form, Radharani's form is revealed, and then their qualities, then their pastimes, everything gets revealed. But this is chanting actually. By chanting, we have to reach this stage of samadhi. And yeah, like it is stated, such meditation, she became free from all contamination. Mm. So actually, just today I was thinking, how will I get over anartha nivritti? And the answer is here. We have to chant nicely. Today our chanting is like a tick mark activity. I finished my chanting. But if we just do chanting like that mechanically, we are not going to come to this stage, or at least it's going to take time. It is a struggle, but we have to raise the bar with our chanting. We have to stop this offensive chanting. So the first stage in our chanting uh, is when we have a lot of material thoughts coming into our mind when we are chanting. This is usual, right? Except for the initial, uh, super mercy that Krishna gives when devotees come into Krishna consciousness and start chanting when they experience bliss. They experience bliss, and then the bliss stops. Right? That bliss stops because we start offending devotees left, right, and center. When once we engage in the association of devotees, the bliss goes away. Then we are also chanting offensively. Then all kind of material thoughts are coming. This is the stage which devotees remain for a long time. How long? To the extent that we continue our material way of life. So we have to understand this. Our whole day is the preparation for our next day chanting. If the whole day is spent materialistically, then the chanting will also end up being materialistic. Same thoughts will come. So what we have to do is at some point in time, which normally I call as the varnashrama process, right? The switching from grahastha to vanaprastha. When we switch from grahastha to vanaprastha, automatically the activities that we do in our during our day changes, and it should become it should change from mundane to devotional. So then automatically what happens is the next stage of auspicious chanting, not pure chanting, it's auspicious. When the thoughts now are connected to devotional service and devotees. But then the next stage is to even transcend this and simply absorb ourselves in the nectar of the holy name. Simply, just the holy name. This is how we have to make progress. Mm. If we say that, no, I will continue to be like this only, I'll continue to work all my life, and my chanting will be, and I will be able to, you know, absorb myself in the nectar of the holy name. Maybe some very, very rare souls might be able to do that, but no, it's not for all. Because it's natural, it's the way the mind works. The material body is designed to work this way. And that is the reason why our Shastra, why Prahlad Maharaj says only Kevala Bhakti. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. There is no Grasta Kartavya there. So the Grasta responsibility has to end and full-time devotional activities have to start at some point in our life, whenever it is. Because if that doesn't start, we cannot go to the next stage. Mm. What was the contamination? The contamination was a concept of the body derived from Daksha. But she forgot that bodily relationship in trance. The purport is that when one becomes free of all bodily relationships within the material world and simply places himself in the position of an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, it is to be understood that all the contamination of his material attachment has been burned by the blazing fires of transcendental ecstasy. Now, this giving up, this becoming free from all bodily relations. Of course, this is also literally also, like I said, Varnashrama, we should literally at one point of time give a bodily relation. Uh, the other thing also is not being too attached to bodily relations. Even when we are expected to be in family life, etc., we should not be too attached to that. We should always act in this position of being an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Mm. Then we have come out of all this contamination. Of course, that can happen only if there is transcendental ecstasy. If we are so happy being eternal servant of Supreme Lord, then only it is possible. It is not necessary for one to manifest a blazing fire externally, for if one forgets all his bodily relationships within this material world and becomes situated in the spiritual identity, it is said that one has been freed from all material contamination by the blazing fire of yogic samadhi or ecstasy. It's not external fire, it's internal fire, which is basically becoming situated in our constitutional position. This is the topmost perfection of yoga. If one keeps his body relations within this material world and poses himself as a great yogi, he is not a bona fide yogi. Hmm. Srimad Bhagavatam stated, Yat Kirtanam, Yat Smaranam. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Person of Godhead, simply by remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Person of Godhead, one is immediately freed from material contamination, the material bodily concept, by the blazing fire of ecstasy. So this is the process of devotion, but it should be done intensely for us to actually experience ecstasy. And this effect takes place immediately without a second's delay. So if we come to the state of ecstasy, then yeah, it happens immediately. One is immediately freed. But coming to the state of ecstasy takes a long time because we have to give up so many nonsense ideas. According to Sri Jiva Goswami, that Sati quit her body means that she gave up within her heart her relationship with Daksha. So Jiva Goswami is saying she didn't give up her body. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also comments that since Sati is the superintendent deity of the external potency, when she quit her body, she did not get a spiritual body, but simply transferred from the body she had received from Daksha. Other commentators also say that she immediately transferred herself into the womb of Menaka, her future mother. She gave up the body she had received from Daksha and immediately transferred herself to another better body. But this does not mean that she got a spiritual body. Yeah, because she is the uh, superintendent deity of the external potency. So, not like she gave up her body and went to the spiritual world. She just changed her body for the sake of this Leela and its significance. But for us, actually, this is the very, very important purport. That we have to reach this ecstasy. We have to reach ecstasy in bhakti, and this ecstasy in bhakti is not material. So maybe I'll just highlight that. Mm, mm, See, initially, what happens is when we come into bhakti, we actually experience real bliss because it is ahaituki. We have no intention. We don't even know that we should experience it, and we experience it. Subsequently, what we do as we remain in the association of devotees, we start bringing material thoughts or our material thinking into bhakti, and though we try to dovetail. This dovetail means like I like to do something, I will try to do that in connection with Krishna's service. For example, I like to eat pizza. Let me cook pizza, offer it to Krishna and eat. Now, and when I eat that pizza, I get happiness. Now, this is not ecstasy, right? There's a big difference between doing what we want for Krishna and feeling happy versus doing whatever is required or whatever is expected from us, mm, even though it might not seem like a happy activity for us. But then, if that activity or service is done sincerely, then we experience some bliss. That is ecstasy. And in that bliss, the material conception goes away, meaning we are not thinking on the material platform. But when we are not experiencing ecstasy, but we are just dovetailed happiness, then that dovetailed happiness normally is on the material platform. For example, I might I ate something which is nice, so I'm happy. I sang and I like the tune that I sang, so I'm happy. Or somebody came and appreciated my class, so I'm happy. These are all material. But this ecstasy is not that material happiness, so-called material. It's all sensual. When we become pure, it's not sensual. But when the service is done very purely, then automatically, because Supreme Lord is pleased, when Supreme Lord is pleased, the soul is pleased because the soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Natural feeling of happiness. That is what we have to reach. And for which the chanting, the sadhana is the most critical part. Many times I see devotees are not giving too much importance to sadhana. Almost everywhere we see devotees just focusing on seva, seva, seva. Seva becomes non-devotional if the mood is non-devotional. It just looks like an activity of bhakti, right? So it's the mood in which we are doing which is most important in devotional service. And if sadhana is not good, then seva uh, consciousness will not be good. When will sadhana be good? When we do shravanam, then chanting will be good. If you don't do shravanam, then no spiritual life. Many devotees say, no, I just do my chanting. Just doing chanting is not spiritual life at all, because the chanting is offensive. The chanting will remain offensive. We're not going to make any progress. That is it. First thing is Shravanam, then Kirtanam. We hear, then our mind becomes a little bit more purified, then we are able to chant. So it's very, very important, practical. Okay, so with that, I'll stop here. Any questions, comments? Anything, anybody? Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarukesha Kripa Sindhave Bhagavati
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.